Hello, everybody. It's wonderful to see you again. I am going to talk today about what books are coming up in June, and I also thought that I'd discuss Book of the Month and Aardvark with you. So, if you're interested in any of that, I would really love it if you would stick around. So what we're going to talk about today is the books that are releasing in June. I have 20 that I've listed. We're going to go through those. And then I thought what would be interesting, because I do get both Book of the Month and Aardvark. So I thought that I would add into these release videos what is coming or what is available for Book of the Month and Aardvark. So I figured we'd start with that because that's the easiest thing to go through. I'm just going to literally go through what's listed, and I'll let you know what I ordered if I ordered anything. Now, the beauty of Book of the Month and Aardvark is that you do not have to order every month. So what happens is you accumulate credits, and then you can use those credits towards whatever purchases that you make. I think with Book of the Month, I've been with Book of the Month longer, and I have skipped a few months here and there. This month I did not skip. I did actually end up ordering 3 books, so I will discuss that with you. And then with Aardvark, I just joined, and so far I really like their selections because they're quite a good bit different from what you get with Book of the Month. So let's start with what's available for May for Book of the Month. So the first book is The Man Made of Smoke, which is from Alex North. He's a repeat author, and it is a thriller, and it says a son follows his father's footsteps to unmask a serial killer in this eerie, spine-tingling thriller. I did purchase that one, so that was one of my selections. Next one, Home of the American Circus, and that is by Allison Larkin, and again, another repeat author. This is considered contemporary fiction. After returning to her upstate hometown, a woman faces old lovers and estranged family, but is it too late for change? So that sounds obviously like family drama type book. The next one is The Names by Florence Knapp. Now, I did actually feature this in my May releases because this is coming out in the month of May, and it is a debut, and it is considered, again, contemporary fiction, a devastating and spellbinding story about all the paths we don't go down and the alternate futures they present. If I remember correctly, it has something to do with her and her children and getting away from abusive husband, that sort of thing. So then another one is The Bombshell by Daryl Farr. This is literary fiction. It's a debut, an early release, and a exclusive. And it is, in this razor-sharp, provocative tale, a headstrong teen held for ransom is drawn into her captor's revolutionary cause. So it sounds like a bit of like Munchausen syndrome, like that kind of thing. Maybe. I did not get that one, but it does sound interesting. Next one is fantasy. It's Silver Elite by Danny Francis. Limited edition debut. In gripping dystopian future, a young woman with psychic powers goes undercover to fight an oppressive regime. Now, I have seen this one reviewed by a number of people already, and I did put this one in my cart and purchased it because I thought it sounded really great. Next one is a memoir called A Live Day. It is by Carrie Huget, I think. After a catastrophic injury sends her husband home from war, a young wife is left to deal with the consequences. So that's it. Now, the other thing that there was also Another book that I ordered, which was a Book of the Month exclusive as well. It's not coming out until the 20th of May, and it is Aftertaste, which is by Daria Lavelle, and it is considered debut early release. And let's see, Bon appetit, take a bite out of this poignant, multi-flavored tale about a man who can serve meals to ghosts. So I thought this was really super interesting. It just sounded like, I love that kind of tale, and I also loved the food aspect of it. I thought that sounded great. So that's it for Book of the Month and what they have available. Then we move on to Aardvark. And Aardvark, like I said, theirs are a little bit different, but I did, of course, order this month. So the first one is When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. This is a thriller, well, horror. It says it includes a dog. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. I don't know about that, but synopsis. Nat Cassidy, author of acclaimed horror Mary, returns with When the Wolf Comes Home, an unabashed adrenaline-fueled pop horror thriller where the darkest fears can become reality. So I thought that sounded super interesting. So that was one that I put in my box. The other next one is When Tides Held the Moon by Vanessa Vida Kelly. It is a debut novel, fantasy, romance, LGBTQ historical fiction. So I thought that sounded really interesting. It really has quite the beautiful cover. The Aardvark edition of this title includes black and white illustrations by the author. Interesting. The Shape of Water meets The Great Showman in this beautifully illustrated queer historical cozy fantasy. Oh, so it's cozy fantasy. As a young Puerto Rican immigrant goes through a journey of love and self-discovery after capturing a merman for a Coney Island sideshow act in turn of the century New York. 20th century New York. Turn of the 20th century New York. Okay, then the next one is called The Original Daughter, and that is by Jemima, I'm going to butcher this, Jemima Way, I think. Early release debut novel, literary fiction, contemporary fiction. So that's what's listed. Synopsis. In this dazzling debut, Sagener fellow Jemima Way explores the formation and dissolution of family bonds in a story of ambition and sisterhood in turn of the millennium Singapore. It's like, I can't read today. Oh, don't mind me. Haven't had enough coffee yet this morning. Okay, so then the next one, which I did order this one, is Julia Chan is Dead. In this razor sharp it's a debut novel and a thriller. In this razor sharp diabolical debut thriller, a young woman steps into her deceased twin's influencer life only to discover dark secrets hidden behind her social media facade. Julia Chan has nothing. Her twin sister has everything except a pulse. Sounds like an interesting one. I thought it sounded interesting. Of course, I mean, like, I'm usually right in there for the thrillers. Obviously, the two that I've bought so far off of this month in Aardvark was When the Wolf Comes Home, which is a horror, and Julia Chan is Dead, which is a thriller. So then the next one is called The Pretender. It's historical fiction comedy by J.D. Harkin. Or Joe Harkin, sorry, read that the wrong way. Set in the tumultuous period of Tudor's ascent, The Pretenders brings to life the little-known story of Lambert Simnel. From humble beginnings as a peasant boy, Lambert's life takes an astonishing turn when at just 10 years old he becomes a claimant to the English throne as one of the last of the Plantagenet line. As Lambert navigates the treacherous waters of royal intrigue and court life, complex themes of identity, power, and destiny unfold. weaving a tapestry of ambition and survival in a world where the stakes couldn't be higher. So it says 1480. So it's definitely historical fiction, if you like that sort of thing. So there's that one. And then Immaculate Conception by Ling Wang, from the author of Natural Beauty. So this one is early release sci-fi horror literary fiction. So that actually sounds interesting too, but I didn't order that one. Could potentially order it next month though, but I didn't order that one. From the debut Natural Beauty, set in the fiercely competitive art world, a novel about an obsessive friendship upended by a cutting-edge technology purported to enhance empathy and connection. I love the whole sci-fi aspect of that. I think that sounds really interesting. So, but like I said, I didn't order that. Now, I did order one other one, and that would be... So I ordered a romance. I have been considering this romance for some time, just didn't buy it. But again, this is another offering. So a lot of times what they'll do, and Book of the Month, that's the same thing. If they do not sell out all of their books, they will always be available. They always have lists of books by different genres and that sort of thing. So they have a ton of other offerings that you can always get your hands on. And this one I wanted, which was Under Lock and Key by Lana Ferguson. This is a fantasy romance. So I thought it sounded really cute. A woman discovers that not all monsters are her enemy. The opposite, in fact, in this new paranormal romance by Lana Ferguson, author of The Fake Mate. So I've never read any of hers, but I thought I would pick that one up. All right, so I think that is it for Book of the Month and Aardvark. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to go on to what's coming out in June. So we've got 4 release dates and a ton of great books. I've got 20 great books to share with you. All right, our first release date is June 3rd. So what we have for the 3rd of June is, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books, and we're going to go through them one at a time. I'm going to try to keep this as quick as possible. Now I have everything on the computer in front of me, and I do have some notes written down just so that I have a quick reference on what we're looking at. So the first book we're going to talk about is Atmosphere, a love story by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It is women's literature from the #1 New York Times bestselling author of The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six, comes an epic new novel set against the backdrop of the 1980s space shuttle program and the extraordinary lengths we go to live and love beyond our limits. Joan Goodwin has been obsessed with the stars for as long as she can remember. She is content with her life as a professor of physics and astronomy and as aunt to her precocious niece, Frances, until she comes across an advertisement seeking the first woman scientist to join NASA's space shuttle program. Suddenly, Joan burns to go to space. So I think that sounds really interesting. I know that Taylor Jenkins Reid is a favorite author of a lot of people. I have not read any of her books. I am not a huge women's literature type reader. I'm trying to get into it, but I have not really explored it too far. But this one does sound interesting. It says it's a fast-paced, thrilling, and emotional atmosphere is Taylor Jenkins Reid at her best, telling a passionate and soaring story about the transformative power of love, this time among the stars. So, all right, so that's #1. The next book we have is The Listeners by Maggie Stiefvater. I'm probably getting that wrong because I have no idea exactly how to pronounce that. #1 best-selling Novelist Maggie Stiefvater dazzles in this mesmerizing portrait of an irresistible heroine, an unlikely romance, and hotel, and a world in peril. It's January 1942. And I mean, it is in West Virginia, so it is not based in Europe or anything like that. But it does say that it is a military wartime romance. If you like that sort of thing, I personally don't read a lot of historical. It has to be kind of, I think, maybe more sci-fi historical to appeal to me, but there is that one. So then the next one on the list is The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark, and this is a thriller. So from the instant New York Times bestselling author of The Last Flight and The Lies I Tell comes a dazzling new thriller, June 1975. The Taylor family shatters in a single night when two teenage siblings are found dead in their home. The only surviving sibling, Vincent, never shakes the whispers and accusations that he was the one who killed them. Decades later, the legend only grows as his career as a horror writer skyrockets. Ghostwriter Olivia Dumont has spent her entire professional career life hiding the fact that she is the only child of Vincent Taylor. Now on the brink of financial ruin, she's offered a job to ghostwrite her father's last book. What she doesn't know, though, is that this project is another one of his lies, because it's not another horror novel he wants her to write. After 50 years of silence, Vincent Taylor is finally ready to talk about what really happened that night in 1975. So I actually really love the sound of this one. It is a little bit on the expensive side, though, so we shall wait and see if I can get it another way. You never know. But anyways, there's that one. Then we have Heir of Storms. Now this is a YA fantasy romance by Lauryn Hamilton Murray. And it says, the Red Queen meets Shadow and Bone in this explosive start to a YA fantasy romance trilogy about dangerous magic, forbidden love, and a cutthroat competition for the throne in an empire where crowns are not inherited, they're won. The very day Blaze comes into the world, she almost drowned it. A rain singer born into one of the most powerful fire-wielding families in the empire. Blaze's birth summoned a devastating storm that left thousands dead. She's been hidden away ever since with a dark secret. The same torrential power that branded her an outcast disappeared that fateful day, and she's not sure she wants it back. Fantasy, romance, YA though, so I'll wait to hear the reviews before I'll make a judgment on that one. And then the next one and last one for June 3rd is Battle of the Bookstores by Brady. And that one is a romance. It sounds like a bit of a rom-com. Rivalry and romance spark when two bookstore owners who are opposites in every way find themselves competing for the same promotion. Despite managing bookstores on the same Boston street, Josie Klein and Ryan Lawson have never interacted much. Josie's store focuses on serious literature and Ryan's sells romance only. So I think that's interesting because it's kind of a switch between the two. But when the new owner of both stores decides to combine them, the two are thrust into direct competition. Only one manager will be left standing, decided by who turns the most profit over the summer. This one sounds actually pretty good. So it sounds like a fun romance, and it's bookstores, so how much better than that could you get? Our next releases are June 10. So for this release date, we have 7 books, and 4 of them are thrillers. Yeah, it's going to be thrilling. June 10, there is at least one in there. I actually have a pre-order for it. It's not one of the thrillers though, but we will get to that. Okay, so the first book that I have is the Primal of Blood and Bone, which is number 6 in the Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which of course fantasy romance. And this is the final book from what I can tell. So I'm not going to read too much about it. I think anybody who's following the series I have not followed this series. I don't have this book. I have not read anything from her, but I won't go into too much because anybody who is waiting for this might not even want to read the synopsis because you've already read 5 books. So I will keep this one clean of any possible spoilers. And then the next one after that is one that I think a lot of people are waiting for, which is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. And that is LGBTQ historical Spanish fiction. From V.E. Schwab, the #1 best-selling author, The Invisible Life of Ada LaRue, a new genre-defying novel about immortality and hunger. So from what I can tell, this spans from 1532 to, this is a story about hunger, 1532. Then it goes to 1827. This is a story about love in London. And then this is a story about rage in 2019 Boston. This is a story about life, how it ends and how it starts. So that's all I'm going to say about that one. I think more than enough people are waiting for this one to come. Then we have Caught Up by Navessa Allen. So this is part of the Darkness trilogy. Now, this is a different couple than the first couple that appeared in the first book. This is from the dark TikTok author of the stalker rom-com Lights Out, comes Navessa Allen's second book in the best-selling Into the Darkness trilogy, upping the ante with voyeurism and play club kink. So I wanted this woman. I was a man who always got what I wanted. That's what he said. She said, he's ruthless, a walking red flag. Good thing red is my favorite color. I thought this was really good. Anyway, I have this on pre-order. I will be getting this book for sure. I have the first one. Haven't read it yet. I definitely want to. I think it's in the piles back here. I'm pretty sure 100% that it's in these piles back here because I do want to read the first one and of course get the second one. But anyway, so that's that one. Then the next one is the beginning of the 4 thrillers that we have. First one is With a Vengeance by Riley Sager. One train, no stops, a deadly game of survival and revenge. In 1942, 6 people destroyed Anna Matheson's family. 12 years later, she's ready for retribution. I think this sounds amazing. So the likelihood is that at some point I will pick it up. I love thrillers. So, the other thing I really like about thrillers is, this is 400 pages. That's actually long. Thrillers are typically between 300 to 400 pages, maybe 450 max, So I like the fact that they're not super, super, super long, and typically they're a pretty quick read. So the next thriller up is The Bachelorette Party by Camilla Sten. So this is, again, it's a murder thriller, and it says Scream meets guest list in this wickedly compelling and compulsively page-turning thriller of friendship and murder from the author of The Last Village. On a remote island nestled off the coast of Sweden, 4 friends, Tilly, Anna, Linnea, and Evelina, meet every year. Best friends since childhood. The idea is drink beer, dance by the water, and shake off the weight of life's expectations. The location of the island is a secret to everyone but them. One night of reckless fun and secret sharing, and then they return to their normal lives. So then it goes 10 years later. Ever since she was a teenager, Tessa Nilsson has been consumed by the story of 4 friends who disappeared. As her true crime fervor turned into a widely popular podcast, Tessa covered Sweden's most gruesome cases, but could never find the answers behind what happened to these women who disappeared. Now Tessa's podcast has crashed and burned, any chance she had at recovering the truth vanishing with it. It's the friends that meet and then they disappear, and then 10 years later. Could be interesting. Yeah, maybe. Okay, so that's that one. Then we're on to the next thriller. Well, this is like a murder thriller, organized crime. and it is King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby. When the eldest son, Roman Carruthers, is summoned home after his father's car accident, he finds his younger brother, Dante, in debt to dangerous criminals, and his sister, Neva, exhausted from holding the family and the family business together. Neva and their father, who run the Carruthers crematorium in the rundown central Virginia town of Jefferson Run, see death up close every day. But mortality draws even closer when it becomes clear that the crash that landed their father in a coma was no accident, and Dante's recklessness has placed them all in danger. So it says Roman begins his work for the criminals while Neva tries to uncover the long-ago mystery of what happened to their mother, who disappeared when they were teenagers. But Roman is far less of a pushover than the gangsters realize. He is willing to do anything to save his family. Anything. Because everything burns. So I think this sounds really interesting. Probably something I'd pick up sooner or later. I have not yet read anything from S.A. Cosby, but I have one of his books that is on, I think it's on my current TBR. I'm pretty sure it's on my current, All Sinners Bleed. That one is the one that's on my current TBR for me. So I really would like to get that one read. Okay. The last one we have for June 10th is Kill Your Darlings by Peter Swanson. Again, it's another thriller. Says, from the New York Times bestselling author of The Kind Worth Killing and 8 Perfect Murders comes an inventive, utterly propulsive murder mystery in reverse, tracing a marriage back in time to uncover the dark secret at its heart. Thorne and Wendy Graves have been married for over 25 years. They live in beautiful Victorian on the North Shore of Massachusetts. Wendy is a published poet, and Tom teaches English literature at a nearby university. Their son Jason is all grown up. All is well, except that Wendy wants to murder her husband. I'm going to leave it at that. I think that sounds really interesting. And our next set of releases are June 17. So for the 17th of June, we have 7 more releases. Our first one is Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. It says, a hit-making songwriter and a bitter musician share a startling and inexplicable connection that they'll do anything to shake in the next sparkling, magical book from the New York Times best-selling author of The 7-Year Slip and the novel Love Story, named most anticipated book of the summer of 2025. I have not read any of Ashley Poston's books. I have The 7-Year Slip. It's here somewhere on my shelf. Of course, I haven't read it yet. I don't know how I'll like her writing. So I thought, well, I'll read that first. But this one also sounds good too. So that one is one of the releases. Our next release is yet again another thriller. It's like all kinds of thrillers coming out in June. You mean like a killer summer? Anyway, yeah, I said that. Just ignore it. Okay. So this one, it says, in the twisted psychological thriller from the New York Times bestselling co-author of Reese's book club pick, The Last Mrs. Parrish, a woman is tormented by nightmarish visions of her future, and then they start to come true. So I think this is like about, she's a mother, and, she's got 2 wonderful daughters, she's married, she's happy, whatever, but then she starts to have these awful premonitions. So that's what this book is about. Don't Open Your Eyes by Liv Constantine. All right, so then the next one is called The Poppy Fields by Nikki Erlick, and this one's a bit unusual. It says fantasy magical literature, and welcome to the poppy fields where there's hope for even the most battered hearts to heal. A high concept speculative novel about heartache, hope, and human resilience. The Poppy Fields explores the path of grief and healing, a journey once profoundly universal and unique to every person, posing the questions, how do we heal in the wake of great loss, and how far are we willing to go in order to be healed? I thought that sounded interesting. Again, I'm not women's literature. I have to wait to hear reviews on them before I'll be compelled to pick it up, but I did think it sounded interesting. Okay, so then the next one is Gloves Off by Stephanie Archer. This is the 4th book in the Vancouver Storm series, and it's a romance. The Only Way to Get My Inheritance. Marry Alexei Volkov, the grumpiest enforcer in the NHL, a brutally handsome jerk, and the last man I'd ever fall for. For a guy who said he'd never fall in love with me, Alexei's doing a good impression of it, and now I'm wondering if this marriage is fake after all. So, sounds like marriage of convenience, enemies to lovers, that sort of thing. So it says the tropes are, they are listed down here. Pro hockey, enemy to lover, marriage, convenience, grumpy sunshine. Those are your tropes for that one. Okay, and then the next one is The Stolen Life of Colette Marceau. And I wrote down that this is a wartime historical fiction. So from the best-selling, Kristin Harmel, the New York Times bestselling author who is the best there is at sweeping historical drama, returns with an electrifying new novel about 2 jewel thieves, a priceless bracelet that disappears in 1940s Paris, and a quest for answers in a decade-old murder. It looks like it jumps ahead quite a bit. So 1942 and then 70 years later. Yeah, so it certainly sounds interesting. Okay, and then the next one is Murder Takes a Vacation by Laura Lippman, and I wrote down that it's a mystery and crime. It's this highly acclaimed New York Times bestselling author Laura Lippman returns with an irresistible mystery featuring Muriel Blossom, a former private investigator and middle-aged widow whose vacation on a Parisian river cruise turns into a deadly international mystery that only she can solve. So it sounds like a cozy mystery, maybe? Did I write that down? I don't know that it had that. It says international mystery crime, amateur sleuth, private investigator. So it's definitely probably a little on the cozy side, which is usually my cup of tea. I do like those. I like to inject those in because I read a lot of sci-fi, fantasy, suspense, romance, that kind of thing. So it's always nice to have a little cozy in there as well. All right, and then the last one for the 17th is Someone Knows by Keeland. I'm going to tell you, the cover creeps me the hell out. I don't know what it is. It's her eyes. Yeah, just like kind of creeps me out. Anyways, this is a thriller, and I've actually read romance from Keeland, so interesting. An English professor's deadly past comes back to haunt her in this chilling and sexy thriller from #1 best-selling author by Keeland. And as a college English professor, Elizabeth looks forward to the start of each new semester teaching her creative writing seminar, at least until she reads chapter 1 of The Reckoning, a tale about a high school senior who has an affair with her teacher. To anyone else, it would be the beginning of a great page-turner, but to Elizabeth, it's the beginning of the end. She knows the story. It's all familiar because she lived it. The girl in the story was her best friend, Jocelyn. And Elizabeth knows exactly how the story will end. The professor dead because she was the one who killed him. Wow. Okay. Well, this sounds really good. Because usually your main character is not the killer all the time, right? So I think whenever that happens, it's great. And again, short and sweet because it's a thriller. So now we have June 24th releases. And for June 24th, we have one book releasing, and it is a suspense thriller, and it's called Don't Let Him In by Lisa Jewell. And it says here, from Lisa Jewell, an author at the very top of her game. 3 women are connected by one man in this kaleidoscopic thriller. Who are you? Who are you really? Nick Radcliffe is a man of substance and good taste. He has a smile that can melt the coldest heart and a knack for putting others at ease. He's just what Nina Swan needed in her life after her husband's unexpected death. But to Nina's adult daughter Ash, Nick seems too slick, too polished, too good to be true. Without telling her mother, Ash begins digging into Nick's past. What she finds is more than unsettling because there are things that don't make sense, and I've been so patient, so very patient. I thought that sounded really good. I know a lot of people do follow Lisa Jewell. I don't in particular myself necessarily, because I've only read one of hers, and that was the one that she wrote that was a Marvel crime drama, and I actually didn't like that one. So I don't know. I think I might have one of her books on my shelf. Oh, we'll see. I always wait for reviews and kind of let them come in. One of my favorite authors, one of my favorite YouTubers that reviews thrillers is Audrey from Chapter and Converse. So I usually wait to hear what she has to say about a lot of these, fairly well-known thriller authors. Because some of the books it's a hit and miss, and she'll typically give you a really good, concise review of them. And I like to watch her channel for that reason. So I will link her channel below, just so that everybody else. Well, okay, so that is it for our releases in June, and hopefully there's something in there that you're really interested in. And so just a quick update on what's happening with me. I am participating in Escape the Readathon. I'm going to put that up here, and I will be giving you a rundown of that at least twice in the month of May, maybe 3 times. I will be reviewing what I read. I expect that I'm going to read actually quite a bit. All the books I'm reading are on the shorter side because I'm trying to hit more, because the more you read, more books that you log, the faster we make inroads as a team. So I am going to be reading quite as much as I can. So I will probably do minimum 2 reviews this month, probably 3. So Escape the Readathon, and I've got all my other challenges and everything like that. So there's lots to keep you updated with, and you'll be seeing a lot of that in my next few videos. So we'll see you then.